All right, we're heading into the weekend, and I've got an important update to give you. We're going to do a health check of the Magnificent Seven and Bitcoin because some of them have printed sell signals and some are operating under buy signals still. And I'm going to let you know which one are going to give us some trouble come Monday. We had going into the end of this week an ominous double top on the SPY. Measuring the S&P 500, the SPY, we concluded hitting 550 twice in this last week, and we got rejected with a pretty ugly sell signal. It's as if all the buyers just simply took an early day off and headed out to vacation on the weekend and didn't want to have any stress over their trades. All the buyers just walked away. The bulls went and sat in a nice little field underneath the shade and gave up trading for the day because the bears were the ones running Wall Street going into close. Guys, we had some big news we digested today, which was the PCE, which actually was a beautiful PCE, came completely in line with expectations. And in May, we saw the lowest inflation rate to date. And so the market actually didn't have a lot of tough news to process. Things were actually looking pretty good, but we are at the top of a long run so far. We concluded the first 6 months of the trade year. It was an absolutely positive 6 months. We've actually been up 7 months out of the last 8 months, which is pretty incredible. And so if you're an investor, you've really got nothing to complain about unless you traded Nike's earnings. That got absolutely slaughtered this week, down 20%. Again, I've got some important signals to give you guys on Bitcoin because that's pretty interesting heading into this weekend. There's a couple milestones that we're either going to cross or we're going to capitulate. I'm going to show you guys that in the charts. This is the Stocks with Josh show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for hitting the like. Hit that subscribe if you want to keep getting these type of important market updates, and come join the Stocks with Josh fast-growing Discord community. We had a great time trading the markets today. We had some good calls and we had a bad call near the end of the day, but we were up on a SPY call 150% this morning, which was a huge success. And if I had just held those and not sold my bags, they actually concluded the day 450% up because down was the direction to trade these markets. And we're doing that Monday through Friday. I'm giving fresh trade alerts for stocks, options, and crypto in the Discord. And I'm going to be giving swing trades this up and coming week. Studying the charts, giving out the signals, answering questions. Come check out the Stocks with Josh Discord. Well, before I get into the health check on the Magnificent Seven, I just want to talk about what's actually been working. We haven't had across-the-board success in Wall Street. It's really just been the Magnificent Seven that pulled the markets up for the first 6 months of the year. Officially, we're starting the next 2 quarters come Monday's trading day. It was the NASDAQ in particular that's been pushing the markets up. It finished here today in June, 18% up. The S&P was up. The Dow, though, has not been doing well. It's continued to struggle, and that represents who all is participating in this rally, and it's not every company. So why is the Dow down while Magnificent Seven is doing well? It's because they've got low debt and the money and resources to actually do it, whereas the rest of the stock market is constrained by debt and need easing monetary conditions to actually grow. So the markets are going to hinge on that rate decision, and we're waiting for more bad data to push the Fed towards the idea of cutting to get more of that market participation. You put that together with the fact that it's an election year and we really don't have a tremendous amount of risk to the downside. Now, having said that, things are frothy and some big tech have buy orders and others have sell orders, and I'm going to go through which ones going into Monday are going to be higher risk, which ones are on support, and how is Bitcoin doing. We're going to go into the charts there as well. The QQQ is part of the bull team. They are operating on a buy order that signaled just 3 days ago, so that even though we pulled back, the fact is there's still momentum to the upside for the QQQ. Apple, another one operating under a buy signal. It came the same day the QQQ got it just 3 days ago. And of course, NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA has been a little bit of a sleeper over the last week, but 4 days ago, it did print a buy signal. And then you've got Tesla, which has been a dog for most of 2024, but it actually got on board, has been pumping lately, coming up all the way back to 200. Now, it got a buy signal 11 days ago. Now, let's pause on that for a minute because that's a bit significant. We've had 11 days after that buy signal to run to the top of the range, and so that's not necessarily time to load up, even though I do believe that we have a strong likelihood of making a push a little higher. 206 is my target to begin to watch for weakness and to begin to watch for a rollover. But in the time being, it's still under a buy signal, and so the bulls are still in charge of Tesla. And then we've got Microsoft, actually still under a buy signal, but that one is 17 days old. That one's getting kind of cooked. So that buy signal is getting old, which means that if you keep it in there too long, you're going to burn it. So you might want to pull the Microsoft orders a little bit this week because we're operating on an old buy signal, but the bulls are still in charge of Microsoft. And then you've got the SPY. Now the SPY, like I said, it hit that 550 twice and it turned ugly, got rejection. I'm going to take you into that chart in a minute. And the SPY, unfortunately, is operating under a sell order. And then you've got Meta. They're operating under a sell order because they've been hot, but that one just printed today. And so going into Monday, be aware, if you're thinking for a continuation rally on Meta, it might be very close to turning around. Amazon has been another winner this last week, but again, they printed a sell signal today. And so going into next week, they might see some trouble. And then Google was one of the last to the party, but they also doing really well this last week. They also printed a sell order. And so we need to take caution on Google going into next week. And this brings us to Bitcoin, MicroStrategies, and the miners. And this is where I'm going to take some time in the charts. I'm going to go over the SPY and Bitcoin's chart here in just a minute. But let me give you the bad news. They're getting squeezed. Prices compressing, and it has been for months and months and months on Bitcoin, and the same with MicroStrategies and Mara. MicroStrategies has seen some whipsawing of price, but overall they're essentially getting squeezed in a price range. All three of them have sell orders, but let's talk about those sell orders. Bitcoin's operating on a sell order that is 18 days old. Now, these sell orders, what exactly are they? What are the buy orders? Well, they have a lot to do with the stochastic RSI crossing down or crossing up and momentum. And really, are the bulls buying it with a frenzy, or are they backing away, letting the bears take control? That's what's generating these buy or sell orders, which means that we're not expecting a massive breakout. I'm going to show you guys what we're watching for in the Bitcoin chart here. But MicroStrategies, it actually printed a sell order today, which is concerning. Now, I've told you in the past, MicroStrategies has a support level of around 1,400. If Bitcoin has a tough weekend, then we're going to see MicroStrategies have a really hard Monday open to the downside. It ended the day printing a sell order right on support, which means that Monday we could break down and go to the next level of support below, which is 1250. Talked with you guys about that many times. These support levels have been absolutely spot on over the last months. If you sold when they broke and bought when they hit, you would be doing really, really well with your MicroStrategies trades. Now, the last category is the miners, and guess what? They also printed a sell order, but they actually did it way back in the day, 25 days ago. Actually, before Bitcoin got bearish, the miners were bearish. So we're sitting on a very old sell order on the miners that is yet to flip green. And so they're also going to run into trouble if Bitcoin has a tough weekend. Now, actually, what's interesting about the miners, let's talk about Mara in particular, is that we're sitting at support very similar to MicroStrategies, which is at that 1400 level. That's been support there. Well, Mara has a sell order that's 25 days old and it's sitting on support at 18, which means that if we do have some form of a flash down, we might find, if it begins to recover, that these could come up off of their lows and do fairly well. MicroStrategies could easily flip that red sell order on Monday to a buy order fairly easily. It's all going to depend on Bitcoin, and I'm going to show you guys that chart here. Let me take a quick station break and ask you guys to hit that like for me. It feeds the video out to more viewers. Drop a heart, say hi, and hit that subscribe to catch the next market update. Okay, let's go into the SPY chart. I'm going to share with you guys what we are going to be watching for going into next week. All right, let's keep it very simple. We're operating on an ascending wedge. I've got areas of support marked. We're at the top of that wedge, which should be a huge concern because as you guys can see, when we've gotten to the top and touched it, we've had about a week of volatility with the beginning of a drop, and that's exactly what we got here. We touched it. We now made a double top. We got a pretty ominous candle. And so even though I think we're going to chop it up come Monday, ultimately I think this These two bears give us the confirmation that we are expecting that move down to 537, which I've been predicting. I want to remind you guys that we've gone up on price, but volume has gone down and the RSI has been going down, giving us positive price but bearish momentum. And so we just wanted to inform you guys that 537 is going to be that target going into the end of next week. Now let me just point out one more thing to you guys with these two bears. Even though we have a bearish double top, it's not a very big valley, which means that the expected move down is not pretty significant, which means that we could go from the top of this channel, yes, to the bottom of this channel, but if we get a pop of support there and we begin to move back up and break above 544, then I'm expecting that we will actually go on in the coming month to potentially hit this 560. Either way, you guys can tell that this is tapering and we're getting very near to a break of this channel. These are bearish. They're going to break to the downside eventually, so you want to be prepared. All right, let's talk about Bitcoin because we need to get our crypto portfolios going in the right direction this weekend. Guys, a couple scenarios I want to bring to your attention. I want to remind you guys of something I said last week. When we look at this period of time for Bitcoin, we see a ton of really long tails on all the candles. We look at the current candles that we've got. We have a little bitty tail. It's not significant enough, and it's also showing weakness. Now, with that in mind, we're at a place of previous support. And so if we go into Sunday and this candle turns and it begins to move up and we get to Sunday at 63K, well, then this is actually a very bullish moment for Bitcoin. We're going to be bouncing above that 60K, that critical 60K level. And it would indicate to me of another pattern that I've talked with you guys about, which is this inverse bullish head and shoulder pattern. Now, both the inverse head and shoulder pattern and this descending parallel channel, they're both bullish. But it just depends on which one is going to prove to be accurate to determine how low Bitcoin's going to go. If we go by the inverse head and shoulders, then this is the bottom where we're sitting right now. And it means that we're getting ready to go into a bullish weekend and a bullish week ahead. But we would have to see the price continue to climb and get closer to 63K, giving us the signal that we're actually going to move back to the neckline. Now, if that doesn't happen, then we're operating off of this descending parallel channel, and we have to go by the previous touch that we got back here, which means that we would expect an extremely volatile weekend and a move to a new lower low back at 55K. Both of these scenarios would still be bullish. If we came down and touched 55K and we got a nice big wick on this candle, that would be bullish. If we actually began to move up over the weekend and get above 63K, that would be bullish. Both scenarios are bullish, but be aware of the opportunity for that selling pressure. Now let's look at one more important factor. That's price. Let's take a minute and look at momentum as measured by the RSI. One of the reasons why I'm concerned that we're not down as far as we need to go is because the ideal area for Bitcoin to reverse would be at the 50% mark as marked by this little finger. We've yet to get down there. This is an area where Bitcoin would potentially bounce. This is why I'm leaning towards the idea that we have to come down further to this 55K. Even though 50% is the right number for most stocks, it doesn't mean that every stock hits that 50% and begins to go up. In the past, we've seen a vacillation as low as 43%. And so we could actually go as low as this 43%, turn around and begin to go back up. So we're not necessarily at a point of reversal on the RSI at 50 or at 43. Those are two areas we're going to be watching for a reversal to occur, which could then drive the price of Bitcoin higher. So that's what I'm watching going into this weekend. I obviously have some concern about Bitcoin because that RSI is telling me that there's more room to the downside, and that candle is telling me that it doesn't have a big enough wick to show reversal and bullishness. And so we got to be watching Bitcoin, because if it has a tough weekend, then MicroStrategies and the miners are even going to have a more difficult Monday. But some of those sell orders are getting pretty old, which means that we're very close to them perhaps turning around and printing a buy order. The SPY is going to be a mixed bag, just like today. Monday of next week is going to continue to be choppy. We're going to see winners that we had last week, like Google and Amazon and Microsoft. They're going to be the ones struggling, perhaps this coming week as they printed sell signals, but there's still others like NVIDIA that was lagging the week that could pull the QQQ even higher next week. So that's just a quick overview, guys. I hope it helps you. Let me know in the comments section if you have any questions on what we talked about. Hit that like if you thought it was good and helpful content, and share this video with somebody. And come join the Stocks with Josh Discord where we can talk some more, and I share charts all throughout the day. Hope to see you guys over there. Have a great weekend. Peace and blessings. Thanks. Bye-bye.